Well, at this moment, people are developing techniques. And another issue is, I think, is because not necessarily it's longer. It's because the longer means also thicker, the diameter too. So if you do make the diameter smaller, it has to be shorter. So maybe the diameter is more important to the transparency actually. And actually, we probably going to do, if you're going to make a finer material, you'll have a two-stage. One is a coarser stone inside, the other one a finer stone, because with this stone, no matter how many times you going to do, it reaches the limit.
So make a finer stone, you can
further.
Yeah. Sure.
That's right. Save that too, because we probably waste. Another thing we're going to do is separation. Means once you're grinding one time, some already fine material, you don't want to feed it back. So you have to separate out and reduce energy cost. But separation is not easy with this kind of fine material. But those are the things you can do.
Is that how main is? The mains?
No, they only have one stage right now.
One stage too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you said so for fine versus rough, so if you have fine material, it's probably going to be smaller, it's probably going to be more transparent. Say like a screen or something like that on a phone, that would be like an example. Yeah. Versus like a rough, which is...
That's probably for reinforcement. If you're going to mix with composites,
if you
don't care to come transparent.
A lot of it without transparent. Yeah. Is there like a completely opaque version of it or something that's just really...
The worst case is, the extreme case of paper. Paper fiber is without grinding, it's opaque.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so
90% opacity.
Right, so paper is like the least broken down.
Yeah, that's 90%
what it looks
opacity.
like.
And then you go down to anywhere from 10% all the way to 40, 50, 70% opacity.
I'm guessing it would take a lot more process if you were to break it down as far as you could and then try to connect it with more broken down to make it bigger then, in that case. So the process to break it down from paper into like a very small, transparent, fine quality, but then if you wanted more of that fine quality, you'd have to have a lot of processing to get a lot of it, right?
Yeah, mechanical probably reaches a certain limit to opacity about 12% or so, 10% or so. You want to even further than less than 10% opacity, the mechanical probably not going to go. At least this particular mill, you probably have to go to homogenization process, which is low capacity. This is high capacity. Stone is grinding. That's how it's homogenization.
So I'm saying it would be difficult to produce a large sheet of very transparent sheet, I guess.
The production, yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, forming the film, it's also another problem that I have to deal with, because in paper making is a continuous process.
Right.
You see paper machine before?
I have. I work.
Essentially, you have water jet. It's a suspension of water jet. The fibers in the suspension, you impinge on a we call wire, but essentially it's really a
it's
screen.
Similar to that,
but
except a lot bigger.
And so forming a sheet on the screen and the water draining down vertical. And then once water drains down, you compress it to become dry. It's a sheet of paper, so it's a continuous process. So it's very fast.
Yeah.
But with this kind of fine material, they are so absorb water. The water draining is so slow. You cannot do paper making process. It takes forever. Paper machine can be 10 miles long probably.
A lot of ovens and...
Yeah, forget about it. So you can't do continuous forming essentially. You have a new process of forming a film. That's another problem I have to deal with. And unfortunately, probably you're going to have not a larger market on paper. The market is small, you don't care about the capacity.
And it's, yeah.
So in its finer stage, it is almost impossible to mass produce that.
Yeah, very slow. You can mass produce, but not as mass as
Eventually,
paper.
maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it takes us a lot of time to form a film, to dry, to dewater, a lot of time. Paper, well, paper can do enough in 1 hour.
Right.
So it's quite the process.
Yeah, that's another process.
Makes sense.
But if for electronic industry, I think that's an issue. The capacity is small. Very small
Sure.
capacity.
Or
Yeah.
what if you had, I don't know, more machines? Or it's the process of...
The drying process, not machines.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I mean, the production actually is not bad, but the forming the film is the problem.
Do you know how long that takes for it to dry?
Oh, weeks.
Weeks?
If we form a film like this, the paper probably take a couple hours. It will take a week. So you're talking about orders of magnitude.
For every piece of paper.
Can you...
Yeah, unless you develop a new method to form a film, which is possible. Which is possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where I was going. Like, well, can they dry it with different kind of oven, convection ovens, or I mean, versus regular heat ovens?
You could, but essentially, I mean, the water has to be water for before drying. Otherwise, any cost way too high.
Okay.
Right. That's why these new washer or dryers, they press the water much drier than older washers to save energy in the drying process. The same thing too here. If you just put it in the oven, that would be good.
Yeah.
Plus, you have the issue of shrinkage issue. Too much water in the huge shrinkage issue and cause the internal stress.
Sure.
Are there other ways to dry it?
To be separate to look into.
Yeah.
So maybe you can do some different forming process. For example, the candle process. Or you put a wire in there and form a sheet, right? You probably that's fast. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's different methods.
I'm probably not going to find it.
Is there a way? I mean, with the transparency of it, can it replace plastics in some way? But it's not. It's more water soluble than plastics. Or, I mean, it's almost resembles plastic more than paper in a way.
One of the things I'm not so sure is that if this nanofilm put in water, would they cause a problem?
That's what I was going to ask.
I don't think so.
Once it's dry,
once it's dry, they are pretty non-premium because it's so dense.
I was going to say, because then it's like nothing to go into.
Right.
Yeah, nothing going into it.
It's like sealed.
Probably not as good as plastics, but should be very good into waterproofing.
What about like long-term plastics if they were underwater
Yeah.
for a long period of time?
Yeah,
or high
probably
pressure.
Compared to plastic, better.
Yeah.
But it should be much better than paper. Paper you put the water in right away.
Is it just
because
like
so porous? So porous.
Or does it dissolve after a amount of time? So it would be similar to paper, maybe longer?
The issue is this, the paper, he's talking about a fiber wall is, if you look at a tree, you have a ring. Each ring so many fiber layers in it. Each individual fiber it's a hollow. Fiber is a hollow. Has a lumen in it, okay? And then the solid part is called cell wall, the fiber wall. The fiber wall is made of so many fibrils and in different layers. And because of this structure, you have pores in the fiber cell wall. That's why the paper is so porous. You put in the water, those pores will absorb water. But if you already take apart all the fibrils out, individual fibrils not really porous at all. Okay? They're still like a water because cellulose, but shouldn't be that bad.
Probably better. I mean, because I know like a tree in water is going to soak it all up.
Yeah, that's
do that.
yeah.
That's really for time.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
What if you combine the two, the sugars with the nanocellulose, and you get a super strong, cheaper? I don't know.
No, that's this process.
Combine.
That's why this pattern you guys are talking about. It's kind of using the enzyme to take sugar out. We don't have to use the enzyme, but in particular dimensions, you can use the acid to take the sugar out. So the issue is where the nanocellulose is going to be useful.
Right.
So there are different ways to tune different things, but right now just at the early stage.
Is the sugar the same thing as the crystals that we talked about? The same.
No, the sugar is once the cellulose is hydrolyzed, when the cellulose obtain one molecule, it becomes sugar, glucose. Okay. So it's a hydrolysis process. You can use it aromatically or using acid. So it's cellulose once become hydrolyzed with glucose.
Using the acid, they become the crystals.
Using the acid is because the cellulose have a portion is crystal. Use the acid to take the amorphous because when the tree grows, they forming one crystal, but the two crystals have to align together, and that's the part. The alignment is kind of non-oriented, so that's why it's called amorphous cellulose. It's also cellulose, but it's amorphous.
Okay.
Where do you see this market going, or this work going, proceeding?
Well, for us, we just do research. I don't see my lifetime see commercial like that. Hopefully, but I don't know. I mean, first of all, this particular pattern is early stage and need further development. Secondly, it depends upon the overall this country how they move into biofuel and then looking at new technologies. With the current situation, I don't see it moving very fast.
Yeah.
Biofuel is going to be expensive than petroleum for a long period of time.
Well,
Even get to a point, then because the oil price fluctuates, that's hard for new product to compete with the older product.
You're saying even ethanol is actually more efficient than gasoline?
No,
in the right compression?
Depends on how to use it. That's what he's saying.
If you were using all ethanol as a Because you were saying if you can't combine them, then it's not efficient. But if you
No.
With the compression.
No, you can't. But the machine have designed for this for the combined machine. The
A new motor.
If the engine tries to be flexible, then that means not going to be efficient for any one of them. Okay, just to neutralize or
your
average.
ethanol engine.
Yeah, that can be efficient internal combustion process. Okay, internal car, but produce ethanol if you through fermentation, you do lost the carbon. Carbons give you energy. Okay? In fermentation, you come out CO2. Okay, that means carbon gone with CO2, and you can't capture that one, and that is inefficient of conversion energy. Okay.
So your next move is to develop a new motor for cars?
But I think for nanocell is probably even behind, some areas behind the biofuel. Biofuel, you know, unique market. If you can make it cheaper, the cars will burn it. The market is very fixed. Anywhere using the energy. The issue is cost issue. But the nanocell right now, not only the cost, but also we don't know how useful this material is.
Yeah, there's no.
Even if it's 3D printing, how useful we don't know. We haven't evaluated that.
Right.
But if you can produce ethanol at low cost, people are going to buy it right away.
It's just getting the price down in that market.
So the nanocell is way far behind. We don't know what the market is going to be. So
there's more opportunities there.
Right. So I guess that's where I keep kind of coming back to is what are you guys actually producing that is a material that people are going to want? Like, what is it?
They don't. They send it to other places.
So that's why we produce
They do
research
the
materials,
studies.
not a big quantity.
They're
Enough
all
big quantity people can use to try out, find out what to use. Eventually, company say, "Oh, this is perfect for our product."
You're
Put
just
it
passing
in,
it on.
beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, you're
and
studying
then
it.
somebody say, "Oh, this company require that." I think we're not going to sell to them. There's somebody else going to make mass produce.
Okay.
So,
And would like a company do what you're doing now to produce their products once
No.
they figure out how to do it, or would you produce
Oh,
a
yeah.
product to do that?
I mean, the process that Rick described, the process we do here, anybody can do it.
Okay.
The issue is cost issue, and also if somebody can use that material, yeah.
makes
So the
sense.
production process is not so new. Now, the patent looking at this project is relatively new, but people can do that too. Once you see the patent, you can replicate. We do need to evaluate some of the issues. For example, the protein on the nanocell, will that affect your nanocell properties? We never look at it. Probably should look at that.
Okay. So you guys are playing around with stuff right now. Is there anything that you guys are really doing really well at right now that you see that has a lot of potential? Like any one particular process in this
For
lab?
nanocellulose,
Right.
potential. So there's so many potentials. The issue is sometimes to figure
I
out.
mean, like, is there anything you guys are doing really well right now in one particular area that you think is really good, as opposed to like something that's really far behind?
The biofuel, not particularly to this particular patent,
Yeah.
just biofuel alone. I have this project right now, $40 million. Not all to my part, but I'm part of this $40 million project.
I'll help.
We are looking to convert the forest residue into jet fuel.
Yeah.
And we are working with a company, they're able to ferment the sugars to butanol. And then they do enzymatic catalysis to convert butanol into jet fuel.
Okay.
So, you know, the issue, again, cost issue. The market is there, okay, and the cost issue right now.
But you guys are doing pretty well.
So I think it's better than the nanocellulose one. The nanocellulose, we don't know the market, where the market is.
Right.
The jet food market is there already.
Yeah, if you can produce this cost equivalent to the petroleum, people can buy right away.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an issue.
Yeah, that'll be great. I mean, it would take from
So kind of like you were 60 years ago, the technology hasn't really caught up to what you can do.
I mean, the production of nanocellulose itself, no progress compared to 50 years ago. Maybe some small modification. For example, we're now able to, I mean, look at just using the standard process they developed a long time ago, but we're now able to tweak the process to produce different kind of nanocellulose. So if somebody else can find that this new kind of material or the different materials has better use than the traditional one, great. So that's the only progress we made. So more research should be focused on how to synthesize these materials. For example, how to align together, how to mix different materials. So those areas should put more focus. But if you look at the government funding wise, I think we probably put more than $1 billion on carbon nanotubes. So that's why carbon has a lot of use now, particularly in the semiconductor industry, because they are highly conductive. But the nanocellulose has way behind because we simply haven't put even 1% of that $1 billion into research.
Right.
Wow.
Probably overall, the United States probably only spend less than $50 million. That's all.
Really?
Less than that.
Wow.
So you're not going to see further progress without money put into it, for
And
sure.
the reason why they don't fund it, I mean,
The reason because the nanocellulose coming from sort of pulp, paper related industry.
Right.
People are looking down this low technology stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So you don't have like a massive, like a nanocell. Almost every university have research program in this area. This only few home paper schools doing some research. So it's a small, less visible. Until the military catch up, then probably we'll see more application. Until the semiconductor industry catch up. So this has been traditionally been in the forest products industry, very, very narrow focus.
Mm-hmm. Did they ever do any work with, I know, like UW Stevens Point has a paper engineering program. Did they ever do any work with them to study it and move forward?
They have a very tiny program. We work with a little bit bigger program schools.
Okay.
Which the IPC, you know IPC, you know Apple IPC.
Yeah.
They moved to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Become IPST, now become Georgia Tech. We work with them. Their program.
Yeah. It was easier when it was in Appleton, huh?
Yeah. Then Stevens Point.
Yeah.
And Maine, the same thing. Maine has a program too.
Yeah. I worked at Appleton Papers up there for a little while. So
if you watch one of the front line, just several weeks ago, talk about the booming of the semiconductor industry. I mean, the guys who invented the transistor, those group of people, you know, eventually spin off how many companies, like the company Intel, National Chemical, all come from this group of 6 people. Okay?
Oh yeah.
They made it happen simply because the military involved first, defense industry involved first. They said we're going to buy anything that costs, whatever cost, we're going to buy it.
That's nice.
So now that's nice.
They tell you that?
Initially, the new industry have to have a buyer willing to pay any price. So much easier to make it up, become big industry, semiconductor. But the nanocellulose, right now nobody say any price going to buy it.
Yeah.
If they do, you will see it's going to go very rapidly. So the same thing with the biofuel industry. You know, people are going to buy whatever cost competitive. If the government steps in, I'm going to buy this stuff and no cost, no issue. You will see the biofuel industry fly very quickly. And after 10, 20 years, they can make it competitive. But initially, you want to make competitive become industry. It's almost impossible to make it happen.
You would need to maybe invest more up front.
Exactly.
Get faster. But that, with the nature of kind of how the world is right now, so like say gasoline, it's very hard to break that trend.
But you know what? That's why I think the government policy can play a role. Because think about it. Just 5 years ago, what's the gas price? $1.50 the most. Right? How much now? $3.50. $2, more than double. Our economy didn't tank. Or economy tanked not because the gasoline price, something else. Right? So people always say, oh, the fuel price go bad, the economy going bad. True, but not true. Okay? But think about it. Right now, the biofuel costs probably about $1 more than the petroleum fuel.
Oh, really?
$1 more. Okay. But if the government mandates say, you know, your oil company have to use 20% of fuel from biofuel, which means for every gallon you only pay 20 cents more. That's not bad. I don't think that's going to tank the industry, the economy. On the other hand, you can create so many jobs, people are willing to pay more if I have more money.
Right.
So government policy does play a role.
But if you even added 20%, you probably become more efficient and drop that 20 cents down.
Yeah, eventually, in 10 years from now, it's going to be dropped. But initially, it needs government help on this thing.
Because, I mean, to be competitive is one thing, but to eventually surpass it is another thing.
So I don't see 20 cents going to cause a real problem. And plus, this energy is different from any other demand. For example, you know, people are going to drive a car anyway. Not because today is $5, I'm not going to buy gas anymore. Or just probably buy less. I still buy.
And more.
But the clothes, this clothes can still wear another year. Why should I buy a new one? Don't buy it at all. So it's different.
And especially if you told people if it's $5 now, but it won't be forever.
It won't be forever.
They might be likely to accept it rather than like, wow, this just was crazy. Let's go back to what we were doing. Right. That would make sense.
But then the whole politics comes in, the lobbyists.
So I mean, without a buyer,
oil company lobbyists,
without some kind of policy, you're not going to make a new industry happen quickly. Only until naturally become, you know, competitive, which is much longer time.
Gasoline could just get very expensive.
Exactly.
Until we finally are like,
exactly. So you sort of not a proactive.
You gotta start weaning people off of gasoline and start introducing something more until they